Hi, everyone. We are back with sort of a take on something that we had seen recently in the Otome space. So I am Natalie. I am the director at Nochi Studios, and we've got.
I'm Hillary. I'm the art intern.
So we brought you on because there's some art that popped up recently on Twitter and social media. So everyone knows not everyone, but there's an indie darling, Cheritz, who made Mystic Messenger, which was huge quite a few years ago. It's a dating chat sim on mobile phone. I remember so many people were playing it, and like people were telling me that they were playing it during school. People were waking up in the middle of the night to play it because there's like this real-time based management system. It's done phenomenally well. They've made a ton of money from it and to help them reach to success so that they can use that money to start funding for other games. Most people know the game like called Zoom. But with Mystic Messenger, they still kept it alive because it's a live service game and they'll put out content every now and then. Recently, about a day ago or 2 days ago, they released art to celebrate 707, one of the more popular characters for the series.
Art.
Because instantly people started calling out AI usage. What do you think about that?
What's the point of having the money if you're not going to pay your artists? Like, it's just really lazy, especially if you can tell it's AI art immediately. Because even if you used AI art, you could I've done this for contract. Like there are humanizing touches you're supposed to do, even then to make sure that it actually still looks normal and natural. But I don't know why they would do putting like some frame they found on Google around it that makes it look even worse. And then it's just really disappointing, I guess, because especially knowing that they used to be an indie game company, right?
Right.
Or they still technically are, right?
They still technically are because they're pretty small.
Are. Like indies are supposed to be supporting like local artists, right?
Right.
People like smaller people, right? So the fact that they're using AI is like so disappointing to think that it's becoming a lot more mainstream.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I haven't verified this tweet, but there was one tweet in particular. The reason why I found this was because one tweet was saying that the character designer for these characters is open for freelance work, and it's like known on their Twitter page, and like it's like open for commissions and stuff. And so they're clearly, well, again, I haven't verified yet, but it seems like that freelance artist, the one that did all the character designs and some of the CGs and everything, is open for work. So to your point, yeah, if they make good money, why not pay the artists that originally made it to do it?
Especially it like calls the question because you have to train the AI in the art style.
I don't know if they did though, because like Mystic Messenger is so big, like so many people have drawn Mystic Messenger art, and there's quite a bunch of artwork from the company for 707. I'm pretty sure if you type in 707 Mystic Messenger,
you can find a bot of stuff.
You can find a bot that will draw it and will know who you're talking about.
But it's kind of crazy to think that maybe you could be an artist drawing and then your art style, or maybe if it's generic, but like your art style could be eventually just be like, we're not going to hire you anymore. We're using this AI technology. And it looks bad too. It's like no QA. The quality control.
Yeah, I was actually pretty shocked by it too, because it's like there's sometimes when you question if it's AI art, right? Like maybe it's an artist that didn't have really good skills in drawing proportions, but this is the proproportions are not. It's very alien. Mistakes, right? Yes, they're like, very alien.
Common like mistakes artists will make is because like what is it? Focusing a lot on the face, making the features too big, making the head too big, right? AI makes like mistakes where it's like, how would you even mess up that? Like the things like with multiple fingers, or like making a head really long, or connecting the hair to the ear. That I don't think a regular artist would do that.
Right.
It's so alien, and it's wondering like, are they also really on so much of a crunch that they had to do this AI art either?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been talks at Zoom for them. They had a lot of low quality CGs too, because it was a lot of the game is very different. And so I think that was part of the spiel. It was interesting because I don't remember it being that big of an issue at that time. And I'm not sure why people didn't think that was as big of a deal versus now. when I looked at the official tweet from Cheritz about it, it was mixed. It was like half of people were like so happy to see 707 again and like, oh yay, 707, like happy, blah, 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 right? And then the other half was like, do better. We don't want to see AI art.
Right.
But it's interesting because like half of the audience doesn't care about that. And what's interesting is I bet you a lot of those people also do generate AI art on their own if they want to see fan art of their favorite characters. And you see this with other big titles too. Like you see this with Genshin Impact, right? Or Honkai Star Rail. Like I'll start, seeing really cool fan art and I'm like, wait,
it's AI.
This is an AI Twitter account. This is not a real person. So it's really hard to tell on social media these days when it comes to fan art. But it is interesting that I don't think I saw a statement yet from Cheritz. But I am curious how they are going to handle that.
Where is Cheritz based in?
South Korea.
South Korea.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, they're quite overworked there. Cost of living is also
high.
It's high cost of living for the amount that they make in that area, right? Versus I think in the US, we're a little bit luckier. Like our cost of living is still high too, but we also make pretty good salaries comparatively if we were comparing apples to apples in terms of dollar value to the Korean won value. So, when I see webtoon artists, for an example, start using AI stuff, I always take it with a grain of salt because, like, some of these webtoon artists are like killing themselves over deadlines and they don't get paid well because people pirate webtoons.
Right.
People read webtoons illegally, and that's sort of just the unfortunate nature of this industry, right? But for something like Mystic Messenger, they make a ton of money still every month. And a piece of artwork like this to hire a Korean artist, I guess here's my question for you. You would rather, I'm assuming, have another artist redraw your work, right? If you created something.
Yeah.
Or AI bot.
No, redraw,
right?
Redraw for sure.
Like, I'm sure you're still hurt because you didn't get hired to still draw your own character. But, like, at least it's another human being, and it's, like, sort of paying it forward, maybe, or, like, I don't know. What are your thought processes on that?
I mean, it's, like, AI art. It feels like they're going cheap with it. Already it's, like, down in quality. I would understand if a company wanted to hire another artist for a different style, different skill level. I wouldn't take it personally. I don't know. It's business to me. Which I guess you could say the same for AI art, but there's more ethics involved with using AI art than there is to just hire someone else.
Or the lack of ethics.
Definitely.
Yeah. Versus, at least I think you can sleep better, I would assume, knowing that at least someone else is getting paid for the work.
I don't think artists are very like, oh, some other artist is getting paid instead of me. It's like, yay, we're getting paid,
collectively.
Right? It's
collectively.
like,
okay.
I think at least when I make connections with other artists, we're always trying to look out for each other because we know how hard it is to get a job in the industry in like all areas, like being freelance or like getting an in-house job, right?
Yeah.
It's all of it's difficult, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like as long as someone's getting paid at this point, especially because of AI art, it's like, it's fine.
Okay.
But if it's an AI who's like just been trained off of our art, which I know putting it on public domain like means that they're allowed to use it, still is offensive to us.
I see. Well, yeah. So what do you hope Cheritz will do now? Now that it's out there, half the people are super excited to see 707 back. Half the other people are saying do better.
I mean, I want to see good art of the characters that I like. Like, if I'm at a convention, I walk right past the booths with bad art styles because I don't want to see a character that I like in that art style. So,
but they're also trying hard. Those people are also trying hard.
They are. But that's, again, it's competitive, right? So, again, that's why I'd be like, well, I know why a company wouldn't hire me if they don't like my art, right? But, like, is it so competitive that they had to use AI?
Right.
I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, because artists are getting better and better.
I mean, there's always, whoever started off with Cheritz, they're probably super, super good now, right? Because they've been doing this as their job. And I'm sure, hopefully, they've been picking up other freelance work. But then also just like now, I think we're in a time where we are so easily connected with other artists that we can find new talent too, right? And then constantly be working with people that are up and coming, even if someone has moved on to bigger, better things. And that happens in the industry. That like someone will start picking up really cool gigs, like maybe Cheritz's artists went to MiHoYo, and MiHoYo just pays better, right? And so that makes sense. And then we work with new artists and things like that. For Nochi, we work with real artists. So we work with like Hillary, right? And then every single piece is drawn by a real person. Again, it's like what you said, like if we're indie, like we want to support people. And I think that's sort of the thing too, is, we don't want people to pirate our stuff. Right? We don't want people to pirate our games. It happens. We know it happens in the industry, but like we'll pay it forward. We want people to grow with us. And some of our artists have grown with us. Some of the artists we've worked with have ended up working for MiHoYo, and that's how it works, right? And so people graduate and move on, but we do always look at up and coming talent, and it's always fun. It's fun to see different art styles, and that's what we look for each of our different games too, is we look for a specific art style because we want a more poppy look here. We want something more older style, right? More Renaissance kind of vibe. So that makes it fun, I think, for our titles, is because we're working on so many at once, like 6 to 7. And so each one has a very unique look that we're going for.
Yeah, you can always just find new artists. You go online, you see them everywhere.
Yes.
There's no way you are struggling to find an artist, especially how many of us want to be paid.
Right.
If you say, like, they are like working the really long hours on Webtoons trying to make money, right? But there are artists that still want to make money. Yeah. So clearly it's not an issue of trying to find the specific work.
Yeah, that's true. I think for sure it's especially like if they're in South Korea, there are so many Korean artists that aren't getting paid for their hard, amazing Webtoons work right now, or not getting paid enough, right? And if they can just draw one CG, that one CG could cover their salary that they would have made from Webtoons for like a week or two, right? Just for one CG.
Especially those heroine mangas with all of the laces and the trim,
the
style its hair.
It's amazing that they can do that on a weekly basis versus for game production, we typically work for a long time.
Right? They make CG quality work.
Yep.
Just
on a weekly basis. Yes. So it's wild. So I too was surprised by that. And I'm really curious to know, one, I know there's a cost benefit to it. It is something that's happening in the industry. The anime industry is doing it too, right? Webtoons industry is doing it. Film production is doing it. So it's something that is happening in the artistic creative community. But for someone like Cheritz, like you said earlier, it's interesting that they're indie. I'm curious to know if something's going on behind the scenes. Like, are they severely bleeding out money? I know their newest game didn't perform probably as much as they hoped it would have, but with that, it's like, did they expand their team too much and they had too many people on payroll that they suddenly couldn't pay people, so now they have to go to AI art, right? But then even then, I don't know, like for us, we recycle art a lot. Like we'll bring back certain art pieces from like 2 years ago and be like, hey, back again, like just a reminder. And I think people with Mystic Messenger, I don't know, like I still like looking at older art from like older titles, like reminding myself like, oh, here's Genshin. Like, sure, I've seen this Genshin artwork a million times, but like it's something that I feel like when I see it again, it brings back good memories, right? And so yeah, MiHoYo has a ton of money. They can keep paying for new art, but I am very surprised by Cheritz's decision. And I really do wonder what's going on behind the scenes.
I'm not completely sure because again, I'm still only in indie spaces, right?
Yeah.
I don't have any idea what the processes are. I mean, people do use AI art for references all the time as well now. Because, I mean, it looks good. Like, we have to be honest. Like, there's a reason why people use AI art is because it normally, if you, like, don't look close enough, it looks good. But then it becomes, like, I guess art becomes more of, like, this throwaway thing that's, like, get out of the way rather than, like, the importance of, like, having, like, the human thought behind it.
The appreciation and, like, being a patron of the arts,
There's no way you can look at an artwork and say, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe somebody made that. Because then you just go, oh, it's AI.
That's true.
Then it just removes credibility from other artists as well.
It's true. I mean, right now, right, in the art space, there's a witch hunt. And then there are innocent people who got witch hunted because of the AI situation.
Because the artists train off of them.
They either train off of them or there's artists who just aren't as skilled yet, and so maybe their proportions are a little bit off with like the hands or like the arms, and they're just like, hey, I'm like working on this,
Right.
and then they have to show their speed paint
Right.
of like, this is just me being sucky. I feel like that's gotta feel so bad when like someone goes after you saying like it's AI art, but you're like, actually I just saw. Like that's just a double whammy of bad feels.
Right. And people even be like, oh, I can do this, and then take your art and then train an AI with it and be like, here's your art, but I use AI to make it again.
Yeah. I think that's the whole thing of like it's sort of a bad thing that people have on social media where it's like, I fixed it for you. Here's your art. I fixed it. And it's like, oof, that's not in good taste quite. And posting it publicly too, right? And then when they get more tweets than the original artist or more clout than the original artist, yeah, I think it really does. It does hurt artists, and I kudos to all the artists who are persevering through this, because I don't know how you can self motivate besides just pure self motivation and pure self will. Because there are again a lot of these Twitter accounts, social media accounts that just keeps posting AI art, and they're getting all of the views.
Right.
Yeah.
They just get filled.
So what are you doing to combat that?
I just gotta get good.
You make it sound so easy, but it's not that easy.
The only thing I can really do to try and combat it is just try to be better than the AI. And also know that like there are still people who think it's wrong and are gonna hire me to do art. Like Nochi, right? Or like the other companies, right, as well. So I mean, it's the only thing I can really do. And art AI, like unfortunately, yeah, it is a tool that we can use as well, right? Like I mean, I've looked at AI art for references, right? So it's like, I mean, I know I originally thought that it wouldn't take off, and then it has been getting, like, the art has been training better and better.
Yeah.
It's like, I get depressed because I know it's literally just like, okay, why do we hate artists so much that we want to take away their jobs, like depreciate the value of their own work, right? And then tell them that, well, this is just how it's going to be. Why do we want to do all this? Like, what did I didn't do anything to you.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, still, then it's the only thing I can still do is just like get up and then keep drawing and try to get better.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? There is definitely a business component to why some of these companies make those decisions, because of the cost factor. But then I think for us, this also leads to other AI aspects of game production. Like there's, the voice actor strike right now because they don't want AI. And like we don't support that either, because for us, I think it tends to be invested companies that are looking for cost savings significantly. We're in the very lucky position that like we recognize the value, because like one, we like to show the behind the scenes, like we like to show you who we are, because that's what makes us more unique, right? Like you won't know who the people are behind a bigger production, like something like Assassin's Creed, a Nintendo game. Like you might know the director, but you don't know the people behind the entire team. Versus for us, like you've met all of us on our podcast at some point. And then for us too, it's like when we work with real people, like we build connections. So like we've worked with our voice actors, right? We make a conscious decision to work with indie voice actors because everyone's looking to get a break, and we'd like to get a break too as an indie game company. And also it's just like, you build these connections, you don't know where these connections might help you in the long run. So I'm a big proponent of networking. And that's how we found you, is because I met you through another student. And that's how we start building all these connections, right, to become better and stronger. But I think there is a certain point where, the bigger companies, it's not about the connections anymore, that human side of running a business and wanting to win together. It is very much like, well, we've got stockholders, we've got investors, we've got shareholders, cost.
We just need content.
We need content. We need it cheap. We need to make millions of dollars. And so that's why we made a conscious decision for Nochi that we don't want a lot of investors. We only have 3 investors. Myself, one of our founders, another founder who's very much behind the scenes. And then we have the University of Michigan, who we know will not treat us like that, right? The university wants us to see their alums succeed. And so we know that they're not going to be coming after us to see returns on the investment. So I think we're in a lucky space that like we can think this way, to your point, but not every company has the luxury. But I am curious about Cheritz. Like, does that mean that they have investors backing them? Is it like a huge, again, cost situation? Like, what's the expense situation for them to turn to this decision? Um, because that would be a nightmare for us. Like, I would sweat thinking about someone claiming that we're using AI, right? And so, like, we back everything. We're like, Hillary, you got to take a screenshot of all your work in progress. You're recording the things as you're working on Clip Studio.
Yeah, thinking
so
Clip Studio having an auto time lapse feature.
Right. So, like, if ever anything happens, God forbid, we can post all the proof. But I guess we're not that big. So, one, people aren't coming after us. And then two, yeah, maybe Shirts just doesn't care because they know people are still going to pay for the game no matter what.
They just want to consume content.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of just how it's become.
Mhm.
Like, how much content can we consume and how fast can we consume it, right?
Yep. And again, like,
Don't
I
have
think
to talk about like the YouTube Shorts and the TikTok and like
YouTube
that.
Shorts, TikTok, short attention span, constant.
Right. Put a pretty art in front of them and then scroll, see it, like it, scroll, see it, like it.
And so thinking about it, or like, oh, I admire this. I also want to learn art. But now we don't have to learn art.
You can just produce
it by typing in a few keywords, training the model, and doing that, which is a little bit of a shame. But yeah, that's sort of how it is now. I think we see it also in other fields where it's like, the quality of work has gone down. Nowadays, when I sometimes do interviews, when we're looking for people, I see people using ChatGPT to generate their applications. And that says something to me, right? I'm like,
Right.
if you care about this job, why didn't you write, what you actually feel about why you want this job? Why am I reading some, I can tell it's ChatGPT because there's very specific language that it uses and it's so generic. I'm like, this could have been used for any company. It's not just for Nochi.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, ChatGPT, yeah, it's a tool as well. It's just like, it sucks to see that you're trying to abuse what we have as much as possible rather than use it to try to make something good.
Well, my thing is like, people need to realize that everyone's using this tool. And so if you choose to use ChatGPT, like someone else is going to have almost a very similar output as you. It's not like it's unique because it's all trained off the same data. It's all using the same data to generate that same thing. And so like, I don't know if you knew this, but we get quite a few emails about people wanting to work for us, which, sorry, y'all, just to let you know, like we pretty much hire local because we like to work with our, employees, and our employees come into the office, as you see here. And so we want to be in real aspect. We want to see, talk. You're sitting next to me as your concept art, and I can give you feedback immediately. You can ask me about my thought process of like, where does this direction need to go? What's the art style that we're vibing off of, right? But like when we get these emails, it's so like no salutation of knowing who I am or who the team is and calling us sirs. Where we're like, oh, you can see who's on the team, right? Like it's literally on our About Us page on the website.
It's right there, full names and pictures.
Full names right there. How can you not see that? You're sending it through the website, this like hello email asking for a job. And if you want it that badly, how can you not have done your research? And then it's just ChatGPT language, like which half the time it's content that doesn't apply to us. Like, are you sure you're looking at the right company that you're applying to? So yeah, like tip for people who want to apply for jobs, don't use ChatGPT for your cover letters, for your salutations. Write genuine things because we get genuine messages too. And like, I'm going to be real. Like we get so many of them. I'm not going to read through all of them. But like if I see a ChatGPT thing, instant trash because I know you don't care enough to like even put in the effort to talk to us. So like, how can I trust that work that you're going to be able to be willing to work with us late? Like you stayed with us until like 11:30 at nights, right? Because like you care about the product. But like, how can I know that from someone who uses ChatGPT to generate, I want a job at your company, but I can't get your names right. I don't even know the gender of your teammates, and I don't know what the product it is that you're making. I'm just writing generic, give me a job. I want to be in the video game industry.
It's like 3 paragraphs. Like, come on.
It wasn't even 3 paragraphs. It's like some of these messages are just like 1 paragraph and like 2 like concluding sentences, completely off. Like, yeah, completely off.
It's like our attention span is so short, we can't even spend more than 15 minutes writing a cover letter.
Apparently.
Research, go on Google. Like,
yeah.
So demoralizing.
Well, and it's concerning for me too, because like not only is it just like one, you don't have enough effort, but like so much of our work is research. Like
Right.
you're constantly doing research online for art, the clothing styles we want for our characters, the looks, right? If you can't even do research to know the company you're applying for, how am I going to know you're going to do the right research for the game design, for the game development, for our marketing? And like all of that is research because like we can't put crap out there or else people will recognize it. Like for Cheritz, right? Half the people recognize it. And so for us to want to succeed and do well and hopefully make money at some point, like we got to put in effort and have these human connections to be able to have people like us.
Right.
So yeah, fun times that we're in.
Yeah.
Are your classmates using AI?
Oh yeah, definitely.
In art school?
No, not for art.
Okay.
It's for the writing parts.
For the writing parts, okay.
But I know that there was this one incident where it was end of the school year and they're asking us to clean up, right?
Mhm.
They used an AI generated image in the art and design school. Where's that thought process?
Yeah.
Use an AI generated image
Yeah.
and be like, okay, let's clean up our mess, right? And so I watched these posters get put up, right? And I'm like, wow, that looks like AI. And then it spread through the classes, right? Like people telling each other, like, oh, I knew the person that worked on this and was AI, right?
Yeah.
So then I start seeing people drawing in like red marker on all these posters. This is AI art. This is trash. What are you doing?
So everyone just was a victim because of that one person, or everyone was drawing on that one AI art?
They're all drawing on like the posters that are saying like clean up, like this is AI art, like telling people about it basically.
Okay.
So such a
That's
dumb
rough.
That's such
rough.
a dumb decision.
Yeah. So what ended up happening to that student? What did this like school do?
I have no clue. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the student worked on it and generated the AI art, or if the student had worked on the poster and then was given the AI art. But I mean, all I know is that it was AI art and people were mad, but then nothing really happened out of it.
See, that's the other thing. It's like there is no accountability right now, right? And there's two sides of it on social media. There's that witch hunt where it's like, yes, we should call it out. But then there's the innocent bystanders who are innocent victims. So it's like, it's not working right now. Mm-hmm. This accountability thing is not fully working because there's people, I've seen tweets about people saying they do it on purpose because they have fun trolling people when they know it's real art, right? And they just want to take down an artist. And it's shocking. But like, because of that, we don't have accountability, right, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, it isn't enough to like say, oh, this company is using AI, or like because people will be like, well, I don't care, and then still give money to the company.
Yeah.
Or AI artists, right? Or it doesn't even matter to the AI. Oh, you're AI art. Well, what's the AI gonna do?
Yeah.
Right? We can't fire AI either.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And again, there's definitely a huge subset of people who support it, right? And then who profit off of it quite a bit. I think there's like a Patreon account. Like one time I was like looking for potential artists that we'd be working for, and I always have to double check, is this AI art or is this not AI art? Because like it is getting very sophisticated now. And I've seen some accounts where it's like it's Patreons for AI generated art. So they're paying monthly fees, right?
To see AI art.
To see AI
you can generate it yourself.
Which is what's fascinating. I'm like,
if you want to see AI art, like,
yeah, just
go do it yourself. Yeah. There's no training with the prompts. Like, come on. Is writing, being able to read and write so rare these days?
Well, I mean, that's what people are using ChatGPT for, to generate writing for them, because they can't even write an email to say I want a job.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you actually accidentally hire somebody who was using AI art? Because I recall for production of one of the games that actually I was brought on because the artwork that was made was not very close to what you were seeing from their portfolio.
Yes. So yes. We had a huge suspicion it was AI art, and we ended up completely scrapping it because when we saw their original portfolio, like, hey, we're interested in you. Actually, it's for Love Cult. So for those who are interested, Hillary is doing the Love Cult chibi art, and that's why we brought her on, is because like, shit, we are behind production because what we originally hired for, really cute chibi art styles. We're like, this would be great to see them moving in the Love Cult game. And now you see what the chibis are, and they're still super, super cute with Hillary's art style. But then when we started getting the first drafts, I was like, oh, maybe it's just a draft. It's a sketch thing, and they haven't colored it yet. Maybe that's why. But more and more, it was very off. Like it completely did not look like their portfolio. And so we're like, okay, this isn't going to work out.
Right.
Luckily, I think because we were so strict, I don't know if this is true or not because they ended up dropping out of the project. And I was like willing to work with them to be like, hey, can you keep editing this and editing, right? And like seeing if it would get better. But like after like maybe the third, fourth round of revisions, they quit. But like they said it was because they were going through a family emergency. And I was like a little sus at that time because like it's happened before where we're like, we'll find a contractor to work with us because we really like their art style, but they just aren't willing to work with our production processes because we have very specific visions and we have a certain standard of quality that we want in our games. So yeah, that is what happened with Love Cult, and one of the reasons why we're like, you know what, we want to start working with local artists. Instead of just like looking at people's portfolios and like, you know, giving other people a chance. And it's been great. It's been great having you in the office so that we can sit, collaborate, design, and go from there.
I've had fun too.
Yay!
I know when I saw that art, I was like,
and we gave references.
suspicious. Yeah.
We gave references too, where it's like, hey, we liked piece 1 from your portfolio. We like the third piece from your portfolio. We literally just want you to re-skin your own original artwork. And somehow that didn't happen, which is like red flags everywhere. So
Right. That's like the one thing that is kind of saving art in the game industry is the fact there's so many small specific pieces that really only a person could like actually make.
Yeah.
Stuff like pixel art assets, right? These are like smaller dev games, right? But it's like sprites, right? And these like smaller art and animations, right? AI can't do it. You have to hire somebody human to actually do this art.
Yeah.
So then when you saw like when that person could generate illustrations, they can't do the actual art that needs to be broken down into the game.
Yep.
And that's what's keeping me like having hope right now. At
true.
least indie will know that you have to hire someone.
Yeah, because like it's not that Hillary drew just one single chibi and that whole chibi's moving. Like you were drawing body parts because we had very specific specifications to make sure everything works in the game and that like we're future proofing the game because we like to still have animations in our future games. So it's like Hillary has to think very creatively of like, okay, this is how the layers we want. And you're still getting requests from us like, actually, this is not how we want. Like Kira's been telling you, actually, we need to do this. We need to set the file like this. So like specs change constantly, right? And that is the human thing is like there's something suspicious with that particular artist where it's like when they couldn't adjust to our specs, when we gave very clear directions, like why weren't you able to do it in the layers that we asked? And then why does it look completely different from your art style? So yeah.
There'll be people who still want quality work, right? And when it comes to concept art as well, it's hard to get AI to change the really specific things like, hey, I think this shirt doesn't match the style. Can you change it to something else? The AI can't really do it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's like stories I've heard online. Don't know how true they are, but talking about how they've tried to use AI for concept art, hire people who use the AI to do the concept art. They can't do it because it makes these like huge paintings, but they like have no content to them at all.
Yeah.
It's just like random spreads of environments that don't mean anything. Right.
Yeah, but on the flip side, I actually have heard successful AI projects. So like Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, they're actually a huge proponent of AI because their team, I mean, everything was drawn, but they use AI as part of the process to help them plan things out and things like that. So we have heard successful uses, but I think there is to a point. It depends on the tool, right? It's a tool. It's a tool because you know what needs to be done for the artwork. So you can tell AI, hey, can you help me block this out so then I can do it correctly? Because you were going to block it out anyways, right? But like maybe it can help speed it up a little bit so that you can be like, okay, well, sure, you blocked it half right, and now I have to clean up the other half, but you're still looking at the work. You're not just accepting whatever AI gives you.
Like clearly what they did here.
Yes.
Where they try to hide it with like a flower border.
Yeah, exactly.
Just fix it.
Just by plastering all over, like more icons, stock,
Maybe we need more sparkles. We need more logos.
Yeah. There's something to be said that like I start these days, like I really appreciate clean art because like, you know, you can tell more easily, right?
They AI sucks at line art.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep. But again, there is some art that I really like from, you know, some of our past games where some of our artists didn't use as much line art, but like you could tell because of the specific paint strokes, like it was very intentional and like it is very creatively beautiful because of that. But yeah, I do think you need a trained eye for that. And unfortunately with AI now, it's a little bit it's gotten sophisticated. It has gotten sophisticated in some parts, and then it hasn't gotten sophisticated for like very specific work that's needed, especially in game dev. At least for the visual side. So
it would be nice if it could do the specific work that is like you need to grind out versus the fun illustrations and things that people actually would want
to do. Right.
It's always doing whatever we want to. Like, first of all, targeting art, which is like very human thing that we do it for the enjoyment. We don't do it because like we need to do this in order to survive. Well, it keeps us happy, right?
Yeah.
Why are we taking away that?
Yeah. Well, again, shortcuts. I think shortcuts and people not wanting to put in the hard work to learn a skill. It's learning skills now. We're passing it off instead. So it'll be interesting to see in 20 years how many artists we will still have versus like right now. I think we're very lucky that we have a good amount of artists and that we can talk to many artists. But I am curious, like in 20 years, like once we have our current elementary school kids, our current high school kids, as they graduate out of primary school and going into college, will they still go to art programs anymore? I mean, not that you have to go to art programs. It's like people just learn to draw on their own, right? Which is totally valid. But are people going to still be motivated enough to draw on their own, given that there are AI art accounts who are doing super, super well and getting paid monthly on Patreon for that?
I'll definitely say that, at least from what I've seen, fine arts people are probably going to be fine because it is so much more about focused on the human element. What's the thought process behind this is obvious, like mostly the main part of why you go to the museum. Like you can see the explanation of it, you see it in person, and then you try to understand the thought process behind it. And also they're just like the 3D aspect of it, that AI can't do 3D artwork. And because if it tries to make a 3D fine art with a purpose behind it, it can't. So I think that art schools will still exist, at least for fine arts, for people who are trying to make modern artwork that gets put in museums. But industry artists are definitely getting targeted a lot.
Yes. And that's where, I mean, before AI became a huge hit in the past 2-3 years, that's where most artists would go into, right? Because there's a job there. And
a secure income. Pretty bad income.
But you are passionate about it. So you're willing to grind for it, right? But now you're willing to grind, but you're not even getting paid for it.
No.
And like we're talking about like even animators, like right, when you think of Japanese animators, they are getting paid dirt wages. And even now, now it's just AI potentially. So well, that ends on a want kind of note, but this is just sort of what we're seeing and the things that we think about and some behind the scenes in our experiences of what we think about, why we value working with, indie artists, working with indie voice actors. And we see a benefit where it's like we're all helping each other network because we all want to win. But then maybe, thinking about, well, what are the considerations for these bigger companies, why they might do that? And it's hard to say, right? Because at the end of the day, people are still buying that content. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, what sells is the most important thing when it comes to making games, generating things, and just how the world works, unfortunately. Yep. Well, good luck. Stay on with us, hopefully. Please stay on. We love you. So
I mean, I will. So.
Well, thank you. Hope this was interesting for people to like hear our perspectives on what we were seeing, and especially in light of the Cheritz posts, just sort of our thought process on AI usage in the industry. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.